We go now to Tim Fisher of Meservey-Thornton High School.
Thanks, Aaron. The Meservey-Thornton School District is one of the smallest school districts in the state of Iowa. Many of the people who live there are worried about whether the small school district will survive. Here's my report on it.
There has been a lot of talk recently about reorganizing school districts in Iowa by consolidating small districts into larger ones. It has been a popular topic of discussion in the state legislature this year, but that idea doesn't sit well with many of the residents in those small districts. One teacher who has taught in both large and small school districts is Carol Lewis, a math teacher at Meservey-Thornton High School. Lewis says there are advantages to being a student in a small school.
In our school here, the kids, if they have any problems with class, they come into class whether you have a class going on or not. I encourage them to come and get help. In a larger school, when you have over 25 to 30 kids in a class, you can't have the interruptions that you can deal with in a small school. When your class is only 5 or 10 people, it isn't as big a problem when someone comes to get help.
Of course, there are advantages to attending a large school, too.
I think the only thing that bothers me sometimes is the fact that some of the classes we can't offer just because we don't have enough students to take the classes and not enough teachers to teach them.
Another teacher at Meservey-Thornton High School, Clarence Wavinga, who teaches industrial arts, says yes, there are more classes to choose from in a larger school, but that doesn't necessarily mean the student is getting a better education.
Being from a small school, it's going to be pretty hard to say that they could provide a better education. They can offer more course offerings, but students have time, only so much time to meet so many classes. With our 45 or 50 different classes that students can choose from, it's very difficult for them to find out already what they want, plus the basics.
Carol Lewis says that in terms of extracurricular activities, smaller is better.
In a small school, I think everyone has a chance to be involved in everything, whereas in larger schools, they had to make a choice. They couldn't be in, if they were in sports, they weren't in the play. If they were in the play, they weren't in band, or, they had to make a choice as to, they couldn't be in as many things as they are in a small school. They had to narrow it down to 1 or 2 things and make a choice, and maybe not get the background that they could have had. In a small school, I think sometimes they get a well-rounded background. They get a lot of exposure to all the different elements, music, education, sports, drama. Maybe they don't excel in it, but they still have the exposure to it, whereas in a large school you pick the one thing that you're interested in and work at it and try to excel in it.
School superintendent at Meservey-Thornton, Leroy Scheinhorst, echoes that sentiment.
Also, the high percentage of people that we have participating in extracurricular activities. I'm sure the much larger schools have nowhere near the percentage we have. We have an activities banquet at the end of the year, and so any student that has participated in any activity during the year, whether it be the play or basketball or football, any of the sports, those kids are then invited to this banquet, and very, very seldom is there any student that is not invited, because every student in the school has participated in something during the year.
Scheinhorst has also worked in both a large and small school environment. He insists that the small district can provide a high-quality education to its students.
Well, it certainly appears that in the basic subjects that we can. We just got our Iowa Test of Educational Development test back for grades 9 and 11, and they were both at the 99th percentile on the state norms, which means, which is as high as you can get. So in those basic areas, we can do as good a job as anybody. Probably the only thing we can't do is we don't offer as broad a curriculum. Some people feel that's important, to offer more curriculum, but in the basic subjects way, we can meet the needs of our students.
Scheinhorst admits that there are problems.
Well, probably the biggest thing is the numbers of students that you can get in a class, particularly physics, chemistry, 4th year math, 3rd and 4th year languages. We don't have a lot of students that want those, and so by putting a teacher into one of those classes, it's not as efficient. They probably could teach 4 or 5, half dozen more kids than what they presently have, and the cost of the district would not be any greater. However, they at the same time should be able to spend more time with those people. But it does sometimes, particularly in the sciences, lead to another problem, and that is being able to hire someone to teach those courses and having to pay a pretty good salary to get people to do it. And then if the classes are small, it becomes that much more expensive. Some, if you happen to be able to find an excellent teacher who's willing to work the price you can pay, why it works out very well. Some schools have trouble finding them.
For most small school districts, the problems that arise are financial, and Scharnhorst says he thinks that is how state lawmakers will force small districts to consolidate. He says the legislature will probably implement programs that a small district will find too expensive to provide on its own. As he put it, the legislature will simply make it too expensive for us small districts to remain independent. At this point, Scharnhorst says Meservey-Thornton is in good financial shape. What does the future hold?
We really can't say until we see the standards this summer. If we have an option of remaining exactly the way we are, there probably is some sentiment for that. If not, then we'll have to look at the other options, one of which is whole grade sharing with Sheffield, or dissolving the district. But right now we really don't know until the new standards come out.
Thank you for joining us. That's all the time we have for today.
Please join us again for North Iowa Magazine.